And welcome to video number 9 of the restoration of the fuselage on my Pacer. I leave a link up above to the rest of the previous videos. In video number 8, the previous video, I actually covered the fuselage with fabric. And now in number 9, I will start off with putting tapes on. I already went ahead and spent the whole day pencil marking here everywhere where tape goes and drawing lines, which then make it easier to get the tapes actually straight, especially when you have long tapes like here over the stringers or the longerons. So when you put the pencil marks on, it's easier to just lay it up against the pencil mark and get more even tapes. So when laying out the tapes and looking where inspection covers go, and for instance the cutout for the rudder cable, which is right here, the drawings are really helpful because then you can just mark on the fabric 25 3/4 inches from the center post to the beginning of the cut, and then how high the cut is center lower longeron up. So that's where the rudder cables come through. The vertical fin only gets 4 stitches. There is no tape going over here, just stitches with dollar patches. But it's up to the builder. I may put a tape over it. And then also Piper did, I think, minimum tapes. For example, here you just have tapes coming on the longerons. It doesn't even show any tapes here on the rear stringers, I think. Yeah, it doesn't even show tapes on the stringers. So anyway, it also doesn't show a tape going diagonal here. And when we look at my airplane, of course I penciled in the tapes going on the stringers here because the fabric is touching here. And then even here on this tube, usually if the tube doesn't touch, you don't need a tape, but just in the top area here, it's very close. So I just put a piece of tape on, and then here diagonal from the front of the fin, the vertical stabilizer to the tail post, there's definitely a tube touching, so I will put a tape there. So it's really up to the person who installs the fabric and the tape. I mean, I don't like to have my Pacer look like a mummy totally wrapped in tape, but at least my golden rule is wherever there's a tube touching or some structure underneath the fabric touching, I put a tape. On the other hand, here you can see the shadow of the tooth behind it, but there's clearly enough room between the fabric and the tube behind it. I can even reach behind and get my whole hand around the tube. So there I don't put any tapes, but at least here the stringers, of course, the longerons, of course, I put tapes. Okay, so I'm gonna demonstrate just on one spot here how the tapes are laid using the Stewart system. So this is an area where you have multiple tapes running together. We have one going straight up here. We have one going this way, so there's a tube behind. We have one going this way because there's a tube behind. Then we have this 2 stringers coming and the longeron on here. So there's a sequence to this to get clean finishes and termination of the tape. So in this case, you glue this one here and this one first, so they just join here. Then, before you put this one on, I will glue the stringers on and let them terminate here and here. Then put a finishing tape over here to hide this finish and this finish, and basically hide where these tapes come together, and this tape coming up will just finish under the longeron. And then later, when I'm done in the front, I'm going to put the longeron tape over this way, and that will then make a nice finish of this area. So that's something you have to watch out for when you have multiple tapes running in from all different kind of directions. And so think about the sequence, so that for instance in this spot here you don't lay this tape first and then has this one, the longeron tape, just finishing halfway or even to the end of the tape that runs up. So it's much nicer looking, I think, if this tape runs halfway underneath, and then you just put this one over and finish the termination this way, same like here. So I'm going to show now, just quickly, I'm going to lay this tape and this tape here, using the Stewart wet, I call it the wet lay, wet on wet method, rather than versus putting tape down, glue down, ironing the tape into the fabric and then put glue on top. So you may do that on areas like this where you really need to first have everything fixed and nothing moves anymore. But these easy areas here, you just take some glue and just put a good amount of glue here. We don't worry about getting over the lines here, because I'll show you later, and that will all nicely wipe off. So you just lay the glue down here, and I already cut the tape, so this one goes this way. You just lay the tape into the wet glue, and then just brush glue over top. Make sure that you get the pinked edges so that they're really nicely embedded in glue. It helps later when you go one more time with an iron over all the edges of the tapes to make sure that they're nicely laid down. Here we go. You just use a piece of shop towel and just gently, of course then it can move, but just gently wipe over the tape and take the excess glue off, and just let it dry. So let's do one more. Let's do the long one here. It was a little bit dry here, so you can just go over it again, it doesn't hurt. So just wipe it off again. So now do the long one here. Again, you just brush down a good layer of glue. And if it's a very long tape, like when you do longerons, you can go part way and just do like 3 feet at a time. That's perfectly fine. And lay the tape in every 3 feet. Then lay the tape down and brush glue over top and wipe with a rag every 3 feet or so when you do the really long ones. But this one is still short enough to do in which one was it? Okay, it should go this way. So you just lay it down, and that's why you make pencil marks first, so that you can keep the tape nice and straight where you want it. If it's not straight, you can just lift it up quickly, and then just lay it in there. And here comes the glue again. Just brush over the top. Make sure you get the edges, the pink edges. You will have to take an iron later at 250 degrees, and after all the tapes are on, just a part of the process. And it's not only with Stuart glue. I had to do the same when I used to do stitch polyfiber. Usually after the tape is on, you just go over all the pink edges with an iron one more time. And sometimes you do that actually 2 or 3 times, even until the moment you start painting, even after the, in this case, the eco fill is on. I still find maybe here or there an edge, one of the pink edges that is just slightly up, and it's no problem. You just go over it with an iron one more time. It's only after you put the start putting top coat on, then it's basically too late. But until then, and so don't worry about this here, because you're kind of rubbing it into the fabric, and that's going to be also another process after the tapes are done. You will take thin down glue, and basically all the open areas where there's no tapes, you will brush thin down glue in it to seal the fabric. So this is actually no problem at all. So that's how you put the tapes on. So I'm gonna just keep on doing this until all the tapes are on. And here's the area where I showed earlier, where I put at first this piece of tape and then this piece of tape. But now you can see the finished area with this tape here lying under this one and the one coming on the stringer, and then this tape also lying underneath, and then last piece will be the longeron tape going over here. But this is how it looks when it's finished, with the tapes finishing under this tape here. So done this side, moving on to the other side. Well, I started actually putting finishing the tape on the window opening here, and I just realized I should probably video record this. So yesterday I actually glued the tapes and left about 1/4 inch or so above the edge, and let this cure overnight so it has a good grip. And I'm using the spacers again to move or to push the fabric into the window channel. So I'm going to show this now how I did. Luckily I remembered that to turn my camera on. So just take a good amount of glue again, same like when I did the fabric. And I don't know if you guys watched the previous video where I showed how I covered the fuselage. So that's also when I use this technique to actually put the fabric into the window channel. So here, so I just put glue now inside of the window channel. Now I also wet the fabric, make it nice and wet. Good amount of glue on the fabric also, and so get it all nice glued up here. Okay. Now here's 1/8 of an inch spacer, same thickness as the window that goes in there later, and I wrap wax paper around it. And now, so you just grab the tape, the pink tape, and push this in. And when you push it down, it really grabs and stretches around the edge. So you get a good glue joint here. And then, use the hammer just to really drive it into the bottom of the channel. Okay. So one more to do up here, and then the window is finally done. So some glue in there, and again make sure that you get glue on the fabric also. Okay, and here actually I have two pieces since I kind of broke it into pieces when I had to do over the windshield. So now I just use two pieces here. It's the same thing. So I just push this in. Make sure I grab this side also. Here by the end. Okay, let's lift it one at a time. Okay, put that in a little bit. Okay, there goes. This one nicely in. Okay. Again, the important part is to get this nicely up in there. Okay. That's it. So just let this dry until tomorrow, and we pull this out, and the window channel is done. And this is cured overnight. So let's take them all out. And some papers get stuck in there. Okay. This time around, quite a bit of paper stuck. So this one is giving me more of a fight than what I had when I just put the fabric in. So I'm just gonna attach the paper from the wood, and hopefully then I can get the spacer out. Yep, see? Then it comes out fairly easy. And I just take a small screwdriver and we just scrape it along the inside of the channel here, and we get all the paper out. So here's the close-up. So now I have the layer of fabric around here and also my pink tape, and I have a nice 1/8 inch channel here where the window can slide in later. So I've shown before how to lay tapes by just wet on wet, where you just put glue on the fabric, lay the tape in, brush glue over top and wipe it off. But there are areas on the airframe where that doesn't work. So you have to have patience and work the fabric in stages. Like here on the window, for instance, the fabric comes down and then it has to be wrapped around to the inside of the window frame. And then here it's even more complicated, where the proper window is here. It comes down, there's a step in, then down, and then you have to wrap it around. So this I do in like 2 stages, this I even will do 3 stages. So I just glued the fabric onto it and let it cure so it's nice and tight. And then you just take your iron. Well, actually I put glue inside of the window frame here and then just into the step here, but not around yet. So then you just take your iron, 250 degrees, and you just then have to work the fabric around the window frame here to get it inside. So at first I do kind of a 90 degree. So it starts coming around, then all the way back here. And so you know it's, then you may have to just really roll over the edge to get a really good edge here without a bubble on it. So just take your time, work the iron, and then you keep going further around and work the fabric to the back side of this window frame. And so now I'm at a point where you just go in and iron the fabric all the way along, and by putting heat onto the fabric here, you're basically activating the glue that you earlier put on the back side. And this is where patience has to come in, because if you do this too early, the glue might be still wet or too wet, and the fabric just won't stick. So now I have a good glue edge here. Like I said here at first, now we work the fabric into the first step here. So because later when the pop-out window is in here, we want a good edge here, so you can put weather stripping sealing in there, so you don't get any draft on the window here. So really at first, really work it in onto the top here. What's this little thing here? Just really work it in there. So now you kind of formed the step. And then you activate the glue on the front side here, just like this. Okay. And then you basically form the fabric, a glue joint, to lay in the step. So next step is now to actually put glue on the back side here. I have to actually trim off a little bit here and put glue on the back side, and then let that get tacky, and then work the iron to also work around here. So on a tape like this, unfortunately, I mean, I take 3 steps to actually get this done, so that I get a nice tight step here, where later the pop-out window can lay in. So after you run the iron, you just get your glue out again and just brush some glue on top. So work it into the fabric. Take a shop towel, wipe off the excess glue, and you've got the step. So, and the same here on the, we're going to put the glue down. And two hands on this one here. Just apply a little bit glue on the back side again. All the way. Finish the glue joint. Take a shop towel. Especially clean up this edge here, so that's visible later. I also run my shop towel behind, even so nobody can see if there's an excess glue, but just to get it done, okay? So that is how you form steps like this. So next step will be here. Again, I let it cure, and until this is really nice and tight, put glue behind. Do a little trimming here, excess tape off, and then form it around, and I will show that later. So this is now the last step to form this transition here. So first was gluing on here, second forming this step here where the pop-out window sits in, and now we're going to wrap the fabric or the tape. It's actually a finishing tape. And again, we just do first slowly work it in to get about 90 degrees. So that make sure you get a good edge here. And then go inside and just work the iron in. And the heat will activate the glue. Just make sure you get good heat activation for the tape to sit nice and flat against the window frame. And here we go. A little bit more here. The important part is to try to get the bottom of the iron flat against the surface, and to try to activate the glue on so that we have a good heat transfer. Yeah, that feels better. Okay. I just finished putting the last tape on, and that means this will conclude video number 9. So this was much more work than what I anticipated. I was estimating how long it takes based on when I did the wings, but the fuselage is much more work intensive to put tapes on versus the wings. The wings are basically straight tapes, and you can use with the Stewart system, the wet on wet method. You just brush glue on the wing, lay the tape in, brush glue on top, wipe it off, and the tape is on. But on the fuselage, I mean, you have so many areas where you just need to have so much more detailed work done. As I pointed out before, like this whole edge here on both sides of the fuselage. Get this all done the way it's supposed to be. And you have to work around door frames. Here's like the luggage door, the window channel, and this is a 1/8 inch thick gauge I made. So we make sure that all fits nicely, because at one point the window has to slide in here. But I think, all feels good here. And this goes all the way in, all around. So, and I think I will have a nice tight fitting window, because the gap is here pretty small. So that looks good. Even areas around the step, if I show that here, get this all nice and tight around the step. And now what's left is like the mess I made on some areas. Like this is glue that is on metal parts where it's not supposed to be, but you can just peel that off. And also there's kind of a rubber, looks like a big eraser that you can get from Stuart System, and you can use that also, or I will use that to get this rubber off, sorry, this paint off here. So that all needs to be cleaned up, otherwise you'll see that through the paint later. But overall I'm very happy how it turned out so far. So next video is going to be video number 10. I will work on access panels, and I already marked where the rudder cables come out. So there's going to be some cable fairing that I have to work on here. Then all the access holes for the vertical stabilizer and to hook up the elevator and stuff. So there's more to come. So stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next video.